guys, we are here with Mousse this afternoon. Mousse is back with us. He did training with us a little while ago, and he is back with us now for some e-collar training with his sister Olive Oil. So in this video I want to go over a couple of things as far as how you're going to get Mousse to start respecting you more as a handler, so that it's a lot easier for you to have follow through with him when you need to communicate with him. So giving him the e-collar now is going to give you an additional way to be able to communicate with him when you don't have this leash on. So with the leash, it's going to be the same as like when you say Mousse and he doesn't listen and you say Mousse, right? Instead of doing that tap, instead of doing that pop, you're going to do a tap on your button to pair with his name. So it's a way to get your dog to pay attention to you when you don't have any other form of communication. Now, when you're out on a leash, you're still going to be using the leash, but the e-collar gives you that second form of communication if he's having a hard time or anything like that. So a couple things that I really wanted to go over as far as, now Mousse is really, honestly, he's great with me. I don't have very many issues with him as far as kind of acting like that, where he's barks at everybody and stuff. Like I said, the only times that I've had issues with him is when I go out like when I left the car and I left him in the car, he barked for a minute, but I didn't have his e-collar at that point. So I'm going to try that again today and work on some e-collar stuff with him as well as that. We're also going to do some drive-thrus. We're going to go to Home Depot. We're going to do a couple things so that I can kind of work with him in those settings as well. But as far as getting him to respect you, there's a few things that you can really do. You don't want to be inconsistent with your handling skills. With me, I am very consistent with how I handle dogs. It's just my normal everyday. I don't really let dogs get away with things. If they do things, so for example, Mousse is very big on jumping on the counter, regardless if I'm filling up water bowls or whatever it may be. He's always wants to put his paws on the counter, and he always does that when I come over to the house to pick him up or whatever too. His first instinct is to paws on the counter. These little things are really a great way for you to work on him respecting you. If you are extremely consistent with, as soon as those paws hit the counter, you're telling him off. And now you have the e-collar where you can give him communication as well to say off, and you're not just using English. So you're giving him a more clear form of communication to say, hey, I am talking to you right now. That is not appropriate. He knows what off means. Timing is really important. Consistency is really important. If you let him get away with things sometimes and then you correct him other times, he's not going to give you consistent results if you don't give him consistent handling skills. So you have to make sure that we're finding little things that we can really follow through with every single time. For instance, wait at the door. Any time this dog has gone out of my house, it has been in a sit, wait, okay. I do not let any dogs just run out the door ever. That's another great way for dogs. That's the first thing that my dogs really tend to learn with me as far as respecting me, is knowing that we don't leave the house in this energy. I'm in control. We leave when I say we can go and when you're in a calmer state of mind. If he goes to the door and he's bananas, when he goes outside, he's going to be more bananas. He's not going to calm down once he gets to the area that he's excited about. So calming him down in the house, using your leash, using your e-collar is going to be a great way for you to earn respect from him as well. I know you said you're having him wait for his food. That's a great thing. Anytime you feed him, I highly recommend doing some training with him. Have him do a couple of sit stays. So there's something called paper plate recall, where you take his bowl and we would put it down on the floor empty right there. And as soon as you go and put that empty bowl on the floor, his instinct is going to be to go check it out. So that's your first step right there, is telling him sit and putting him back, using your spatial pressure to keep him blocked from it and keep him in this calm state of mind. That is helping him work on impulse control. Impulse control is the huge thing that we want to work on with Mousse, because he is a good boy. He just tends to forget to do things when he gets worked up, and when he gets excited, he just goes to instinct. So impulse control is a big thing for him to work on. So anyway, back to paper plate recall. What you're going to do is you're going to put that empty bowl down. As soon as he tries to get up from that sit position, you're going to put him back using your slip lead, your e-collar, your spatial pressure, anything you need to do to keep him in that sit position. Once he's sitting and he's okay with it, you're going to go over and you're going to just drop a couple of kibbles into his bowl. Again, he's going to jump up and want to go sniff them. That's on you to keep him in this sit position using your spatial pressure. Now you can start with the bowl a little further away so that it makes it easier for you if he does break, that he doesn't get around you and get to the reward, because then you just lost everything. You totally lost that game of paper plate recall. So what you want to do is put a couple of kibbles down. Once you have that, you can kind of take a step back. Okay. Sorry, I got a card. Okay. Right, so we put the bowl down, we put a couple kibbles down, we make him sit, and then I'm going to say, okay, and I'm going to let him go eat the kibble while I take a few steps back. Once he's done eating the kibble, I'm going to say, Mousse, come, sit, and then go back over to the bowl, and again, drop a few kibbles. Impulse control. Again, he's going to want to jump up and get to it. So this is working on sit stays, recalls, impulse control. You're working on so many great things by doing paper plate recall. You're building respect, you're working on handling skills, you're working on mental stimulation, you're feeding by hand, you're giving him a job to do for his food, not just putting a bowl down and making him sit one time and then say, okay, go scarf it down. Right? So if you work with him, you're giving him a job and you're giving him a paycheck. Again, you're the boss, and you're going to be earning more respect from him by giving him more things to do that he can follow through with you. If we're not doing a lot of things where he has to follow through with what you ask him to do, then when he gets into the heat of the moment and you're asking him to do something really difficult where there's a hard distraction, he's not going to be as inclined to want to follow your direction if you haven't been there as a strong handler, just like in a job role. Like if you have a boss that you really trust and trained you really well, and you feel comfortable enough to ask them for guidance when you're in a position that you're uncomfortable in, that's a good boss. So even right now, he's in this position, and the electric guy is right there. So, but that's great. So, okay. So we'll just go kind of walk by him. So working on doing paper plate recall, that's going to be great. Waiting at the door, doing an off command. Hi, how you doing? Doing an off command anytime he jumps on the counter or jumps on people or goes in the trash or, whatever have you. All of these things are great things that I want you to start working on. Practicing just sit stays, practicing recalls, placing with him while you're petting Olive, and then releasing him and then putting him back on and making him stay for longer spans. Distance, distraction, duration. How far can we get away from him? How long can we keep him on place? What distractions can we start adding in? Remember to think of it as a ladder. You're going to start at the bottom of the ladder, make it really easy for you and for him. If you're just doing simple things where you're saying putting him on place, taking a few steps back and just pacing back and forth a few times, and then, okay, that was a distraction. Just you walking around is a distraction, but it's a mild one. So then you're going to start by that was working on distractions, distance, and duration. So then you're going to start adding in going a little bit longer. Then you're going to start turning your back. Then you can start doing things like squatting down or patting your legs or kissing noises or whistling. Then again, you're going to go up to petting Olive, and there's all sorts of things that you can do to make it more difficult. But you have to remember, we need to practice these simple things right now so that when the difficult things pop up, it's going to be a lot easier for you to maintain because you guys have built a strong working relationship that he can trust you and fall onto you when he's not quite sure what he's supposed to do. So in our working relationship, he really respects me. He knows that I'm in control of situations, and he doesn't tend to go to that off the deep end type behavior, because he doesn't feel like there's any need to. He knows that I'm in control of everything. And if I'm like cool, calm, and collected, and like I have zero pressure, I can completely drop this leash right now. Right? And he's still healing with me. Good boy. All right, so just patting my legs. Come on, Moose. Good boy. So perfect. Moose, come. Good boy. Yes, good job. Good boy. Sit. A little spatial pressure. Okay. Good. Moose. Yes, good boy. Now, if he hadn't come, so there's your leash, can come in handy too because I stopped him. If he hadn't responded to me that first time I said his name and he turned and started to come towards me, I would have given him a tap the second time I say his name. That's how you're going to use your e-collar. If you say your dog's name and he doesn't respond to you, the second time you say their name is when you pop the leash, the button. I'm sorry, is when you tap the button, not pop the leash. But same idea. It's when you would pop your leash, you would tap your button. Again, this one is going to be Mousse. This one is going to be Olive. Mousse has a black collar. Olive has a lavender one that matches the remote. Sorry, I lost my train of thought right there. So anytime, like I said, anytime you say their name and they're not responding, that's when you use the e-collar. Off is pretty much the only one that I kind of do it right in the moment. I don't wait for the second time because I want to stop that behavior right in the moment, and it gives me a quick, easy way to communicate with him. As soon as paws hit the counter, you can go off and tap him because we want him to make the connection of it's because my paws left the ground and hit the counter that I'm getting that she's responding to me, she's communicating with me. Moose. So perfect. Moose. Good boy. Moose. Yes, good job. So I didn't tell him to COME. I was just trying to get his attention. He stopped. He looked at me. I'm going to go up on his numbers now. We're at a 10. Moose. So perfect. Moose. Going up on his numbers. Moose. Moose. Okay. So I followed through there, right? I went all the way up to a 50, and that was only because I have I only have one hand to do this, so it's hard to roll and tap at the same time with one hand. But he stopped. He was eating the cat food, right? And I called him off. He didn't listen. I tapped him a couple times, and he quickly got the point that was an off command. So off and Moose at the same time. Now, if we go over there again, we'll see if... Now, of course, I rolled back down. We're at like a 13 or so. We'll see if he goes over there this time. So now he's like, nope. I know that's a setup, right? And again, setups, these are important. So we're teaching him that it's really important that he has to respond to us. We're making, with an off command, we're making the point, we're cutting to the point really quick by telling him, no, this isn't appropriate. If you do that a couple of times with a good level, he's going to get the point a lot quicker, and he's going to be like, oh, no. And he's not one to, like, yelp at it. So even if you go too high, I know it would break your heart to hear either of them kind of, like, yelp a little bit. But I always like to explain it like this. If you do hear them yelp, it would be like if you were home doing the dishes by yourself and all of a sudden someone tapped you on the shoulder. You'd be like, oh my God, I did not know you were there, right? It startled you. It caught you off guard. It didn't hurt you. It startled you. That's the same thing. It didn't hurt them. It's just that if you go too high and all of a sudden they're really focused on something and they're not feeling this tiny little tap, and then all of a sudden you get to a really high level that they do feel, all of a sudden he's going to be like, oh my God, where did that come from, right? Because he was so focused on something else. So don't feel bad if you hit them at a higher level than is necessary. Like I said, Mousse isn't one to yelp at it. Olive, I haven't needed to use it very much at all. So I don't think you'll have too much of an issue with that. But just remember, building up this mutual respect and this working relationship is going to be key. I know it seems weird that working on random other things is going to help his behavior out and about, but I promise you it will. He's going to respect you. He's going to have more mental stimulation. His brain is going to be a little bit less active, and he's going to be a little bit more tired when you take him out on walks. He's going to be more prone to listening to you when you call his name. He's going to respect you more. There's just so many great things that working on basic obedience throughout the day is going to help. And it doesn't take a lot of time. It's just a matter of follow through. It's more about the follow through than it is anything else. So just remember that's the key to it all. So hopefully that helps. I'm going to take some more video when we go out, and hopefully that will help you as well. So we will be back with more of the Mousse. See you, buddy.